All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, at www.classic1220.ca. If you'd like to send me an email, it's very simple, xzone@classic1220.ca, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Now, my first guest tonight is Joe RAINONE, and Joe, welcome to the X Zone.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate the invite.
All right, tell us a little bit about yourself, Joe.
So, I'm just a normal, regular 9-to-5 guy. I'm an IT manager, but as a hobby, I'm a part-time paranormal investigator. I've been doing it since 2010, so this is my 13th year.
What was it that got you into investigating the paranormal, Joe?
So, unlike most paranormal investigators, Rob, they typically have had some type of a paranormal experience that piqued their interest to look further into the phenomenon. For me, it was a little different. It was actually the introductions of the ghost hunting shows in the early to mid 2000s that got me piqued. I was more curious as to whether it was just put on for entertainment purposes only.
And what did you find out?
A few things. It is absolutely real. Paranormal experiences can definitely happen, but I also feel as though the television shows tend to over-dramatize things and, possibly, dare I even say maybe fabricate some evidence.
Can you give us some examples of that, Joe?
Well, speaking for myself, Rob, when you paranormal investigate a location, you can be there, hours, possibly days, and not get a single shred of evidence. And in order to have a television show, a weekly television show, and to have reels of evidence, I just don't think it's possible from my experience.
Now, when you go and do a paranormal investigation, Joe, do you go by yourself or do you go with a team?
I never go by myself. I will at least go with one other person, but primarily I do go with my team.
Now, where are some of the places that you've gone to do paranormal investigations with you and your team?
So we're based out of New England. We're very lucky that we're rich in a lot of history. We're just outside of Boston. There's also Salem, Massachusetts, where the witch trials were.
Yeah.
So we've done a bulk of different locations in Salem, including home residential cases. We have done the ever so famous Lizzie Borden house. We have done local spots that maybe some of the audience wouldn't know, but are actually very big in the paranormal community. A few places off the top of my head is the S.K. Pierce Mansion in Gardner, Mass. It's been in quite a number of different TV shows throughout the years, along with the Houghton Mansion in North Adams, Mass. And another popular spot, which is gaining some traction, is the USS Salem, which is a naval battleship docked outside of Quincy, Mass. So those are some of the more local ones. We've also traveled throughout the country and done a lot, various prisons, various asylums, things like that.
I noticed on the information that you sent us that you've also done investigations at the Waverly Hills, the Ohio State Reformatory, Eastern State Penitentiary, Pennhurst Asylum, Rolling Hills Asylum, and the Shanley Hotel. I've got to ask you, these have been featured on many television shows. Why do the ghosts or the spirits remain there? Do they enjoy being on TV?
Really, really good question. I'm not sure whether they enjoy being on TV or not, but I think they enjoy the fact that a lot of people are going to those locations specifically to elicit communication with them.
Okay, now when you were at, let's say, Waverly Hills, what kind of paranormal activity did you and your team encounter?
So you picked a really, really great one. Waverly Hills is definitely probably easily the top 3 of locations that we've gone to that have really had wonderful evidence, so to speak. So the bulk of our evidence is audio. There's a phenomenon called EVP, which stands for electronic voice phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
And that's essentially you're recording a conversation with a recorder. Can be digital, can be analog, could even be a cell phone. And you're asking questions in the hope of getting a response. And when you receive the response, it's not audible to the human ears, but the devices actually can pick it up. So Waverly was really, really wonderful as far as getting a lot of electronic voice phenomenon. We were getting direct answers to some of our questions. Another very rare phenomenon that actually took place at Waverly is called a disembodied voice. So that's when you hear a voice that your naked ear is picking it up. So you're not relying on the equipment. It's very, very rare. It's probably only happened a handful of times to us and to myself. Waverly was actually one of those locations where we actually caught a disembodied voice. And it just so happened to be right in front of the death tunnel, affectionately known in Waverly as the death tunnel, because that was the chute where they would transport the bodies after, a patient succumbed to, TB or
Sure.
or whatnot.
How is it possible that you do not hear, when you're doing an EVP, you do not hear the response to your questions or however you and your team do it, and yet it registers on a digital or analog recording device?
Rob, I'll tell you, if I had that answer for you, I could unlock a big secret. Nobody really knows. Nobody knows how they imprint their voice. They don't. There's theories that it's coming through the EMF field, electromagnetic frequency field. The thing that kind of gets me a little bit is the fact that how are they hearing me when I ask a question? Are they on the other side with this particular device that they're using to hear me?
Mm-hmm. Good question. Mind you, mediums and other psychics can communicate with the other side without the use of any equipment. So how come investigating the paranormal as an EVP requires the equipment instead of the direct contact that mediums and psychics have?
So for our team, we don't have any mediums or psychics on the team, nor are we scientists, but we are professional and we rely on equipment. So we want to be more scientific based. Like I said, even though none of us are scientists, we just want to rely mainly on equipment because it's, if you get something on equipment, it's there, it's in black and white.
Yeah.
We can share it.
So during your investigations, first of all, if somebody was to call you up and say, Joe, I heard you on the X Zone on Classic 1220, and I think I've got a ghost in my house, Joe, can you come down and visit us? And these people are in the area that you actually live in, let's say in Massachusetts, somewhere near Boston. How would you conduct the investigation?
Well, first off, Rob, we would do a thorough vetting of the client first and foremost, because just throughout the years we've realized that there's a lot, for lack of a better term, there's a lot of mental illness and potential under the influence of alcohol or prescription drug use, and people seem to think that they might be having some type of paranormal activity when in reality it's probably induced by, again, mental illness or potential drug or alcohol use. So we would do a thorough vetting of the client just to kind of rule that out before we would even invest any of our time in visiting the location, and we definitely don't want to put ourselves in harm's way either. And through the course of the years, we've kind of wasted a lot of cycles just with claims that were kind of nonsense. But after the vetting process, we would typically, what we would do is we would do a walkthrough first of the location with the homeowners there, get their stories, get the so-called hotspots of where they might have seen something or heard something. We would take notes. We would sweep the home again for those EMF fields that I spoke to you a little bit earlier about.
Mm-hmm.
Those are fields of electromagnetic frequency that are generated by large appliances, faulty wiring, things like that. We would do a base sweep of the location because we want to make sure that when we are eventually there to paranormal investigate, in our equipment that's designed to pick up EMF is going off, that we know that it's not the refrigerator on the other side of the wall or a washer or dryer or anything like that. So that would be why we would do the walkthrough, and then we would schedule the home investigation at a different point in time. At that point, we would kind of prefer that the homeowners aren't in the house, but if they insist on being there, we would obviously welcome them as well. And we would typically spend, anywhere between 4 and 6 hours in the location, see if we can document any evidence and collaborate some of the claims of the paranormal activity for the homeowners.
Okay, now you're taking you're accumulating all this data through your investigation. How long does it take you to go through the data, go through the EVPs, go through any video files that you've collected to come to your conclusion as to whether or not there is a haunting there, or if it is just something else that has nothing to do with the paranormal?
It's actually a great question, Rob. So basically, for every recorder you have running,
Mm-hmm.
and for every camera you have running, you need to sit and review audio and video for each one of those cameras. So it's a painstaking process.
So on the average, what are we looking at? An extra 15, 20 hours worth of work?
Easily.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how many investigations do you do a year, Joe, with your team?
So it's quieted down a lot. So we used to have a 1-800 number, and back in the day, probably in the mid 2000s, we would probably take at least 3 to 4 phone calls a week on that 1-800 line. And then, but that was also kind of like the height of the paranormal television shows and things like that. So I think people kind of maybe thought they might have had something going on, and they realized teams are out there to investigate.
Hey, Joe, I hate to do this, but I've got to take a break. Please stand by. Exonation, our guest this hour is Joe RAINONE. His website is paranormalnewengland.com, and we'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue here in the X Zone on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, www.classic1220.ca. Welcome back to the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, www.classic1220.ca. Joe RAINONE is our special guest, paranormalnewengland.com. Joe, thanks for joining us tonight. And I have to ask you this, Joe. Has there ever been an investigation that you've done that you had the bejeebers scared out of you?
I'm going to answer you totally honestly. No, never, not once. I don't think I'd be doing this if I got easily rattled.
So has there been anything that you've seen or heard during an investigation that makes you believe that the paranormal is very real?
Yeah, so again, a lot of the audio evidence we've gotten throughout the years, we've gotten direct responses to questions as far as, who's still residing in the location. And we've gotten, in certain cases, first and last names that we could actually go back and look through like some type of an archive and actually find that there was such a person that did exist in that spot. So the audio stuff is very real, and it's very informative. The visual piece is a lot harder to capture and document for whatever reason. I just don't know whether they don't have enough energy to manifest. I can say that I have never seen an apparition in my 13 plus years now of doing this. I think the closest thing I've seen is what is termed a shadow figure. I saw that at a local, very, very popular location here in New England, which is the Conjuring House in Burrisville, Rhode Island, that spawned that whole Conjuring House movie series. So that was one of the real tangible things that I can say I've seen with my own eyes was a shadow figure, and it was humanoid in form. It didn't have any particular features that I could say, well, it was a male or it was a female, but I could see a torso, limbs, head, and it was just like a gray mass that moved rather quickly. So that was one of the more profound things I have seen in my experience.
So when you're out on these investigations, have you ever been scratched? Have you ever been pushed? Have you ever felt any physical evidence of the ghost or the spirit?
I have never been scratched. I have seen scratches appear on teammates as we've investigated, just out of nowhere. So I can't speak to the phenomenon myself. I have been nudged near some staircases. I guess we'll go back to Waverly.
Okay.
That phenomenon did happen to me at Waverly. It felt like a hand just kind of gave me a little nudge when I was near an open staircase. Fortunately, it wasn't hard enough that I ended up going down it. Another experience that I've had, Rob, that I never experienced before, and I always heard of people saying, oh, well, Joe, you've gotten that cobweb feeling, haven't you? And, my honest answer was like, no, I haven't. And they're like, oh, well, you'll know when you get it. And that recently happened to me probably this past fall. I was at a local spot in Weymouth, Massachusetts called the Emery Estate. It's an estate that was given back to the town of Weymouth, and the town decided that they would open the house up as a museum, and then the staff that was there was having paranormal experiences, and they actually decided to create a volunteer staff to lead folks on public ghost hunts there. So I volunteer for them. I'm one of the staff there, and it was actually a night after one of the public ghost hunts, all of the guests had left. I had walked upstairs to turn off some of the lights, and I walked through a door frame of one of the bedrooms that, mind you, I've walked in and out of that door frame probably a good half a dozen times just that night alone. And I got the sensation that I just walked right through this big cobweb. And I knew that there's no way a spider could have spun a big cobweb like that since the last time I was up in that area of the house. So I just, by pure fate, I happen to have my recorder on me. I hit the record button. I started asking some questions who was up here with me. And I probably got one of the clearest EVPs I've ever captured in my career. I got a male voice saying the name Brandon, and he did it in an Irish brogue, which really completely blew me away. So it came out like, Brandon, please. So those are some of the more physical things that I can speak to, because I've experienced it. As far as me experience a scratch, I can't say one way or another how that feels.
In your opinion, why are these spirits, why are these ghosts staying behind? Why don't they go to the light? Why don't they go to the next dimension or wherever ghosts go when they decide to leave home?
I think some, and this is personal, you asked me for my personal, because none of this is proven yet, but I just think some are trapped in like some type of a go-between realm between Earth and, if you want to say a heaven. Why they are trapped, or maybe not trapped, but want to stay here. I mean, I would go probably with, maybe they just loved the place that they're in. I mean, speaking for the Emery estate, I could say that because it's a beautiful house. It's a beautiful grounds. I could kind of understand why a spirit might want to hang there. When you start talking about some of the more darker locations like the Waverleys, and like the prisons and things like that, I'm not exactly sure why, for lack of a better term, a soul or a spirit would still want to stay there. And my only guess is that I think they're just trapped there for whatever reason.
Why is it some people have the ability to have an experience with the paranormal and other people don't? I've known groups that go in 20, 30 people, maybe 5 or 6 people will have an actual experience, and the other people say, well, we felt nothing, we saw nothing. Absolutely zip.
Yeah, it's very common. I just think certain people are more open to it, maybe mentally. Other people, if you're a diehard skeptic, something may be going on that you're not even aware of it, and you're not even going to put it into the fact that it might be something paranormal. Speaking again to some of those public ghost hunts that I've been privy to and have led, there's dynamics in groups. So you could take a group of 4 or 5 people. Again, I'll use the Emery estate as a prime example. You could take them through that house, room by room, just with your equipment, using your audio, using your video. And some groups, for whatever reason, we don't get anything. We don't get an EVP. We don't get any of the equipment going off. Later in the night, you take a different group up there, and it's like a different house, And I can only surmise that it has something to do with the personalities of the people there.
There's some thought within the scientific community that the paranormal events that are reported during a tour or a ghost hunt are actually perpetrated by members of the group itself and are manifested that way. What's your opinion on that?
I've heard the same. I think it's going to go back to the statement I just said. I think it has something to do with just the people being more open to experiencing something.
They're more believable?
I'm sorry, Rob?
The people are more believable. They want something to happen, so they believe something is going to happen. So is it possible that they're actually creating that something that they're looking for?
That's a good possibility. I was thinking more along the lines that they're believers.
Yeah.
Now, whether they had paranormal experiences or not, they just believe in it, and for whatever reason, it's those more open-minded groups that definitely have more experiences. I've just noticed it time and time again. You got a group of people that are more skeptical. And usually, like I'll say, like that group was kind of flat. like meaning like we didn't get anything with them, you know?
Okay, I can understand that. I guess I'm trying to quantify how some people within a group can experience the paranormal and others can't. Do you think that the people who go on these, or the majority of people that go on the ghost tours, for example, have seen television shows and their expectation of something to happen is higher than the people who go there who may be a little skeptical?
I think that's a safe statement. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, when you and your team go out on an investigation, how many members are in your team, first of all?
We currently have 13 members in
Now,
Paranormal New England.
now do
Go
all
ahead.
of you go out at the same time to the same location?
It's very rare that we'll have a full team out at an investigation. It usually averages out to about 6 to 7 people because again we're all professionals. We all have day jobs. It's a hobby for us. We all have families, so
Right.
not everybody can make every single investigation. So out of 13, if we get called in to do something, it's if we can get half the team to show up, that's a good number.
Uh, there are many people who believe that objects in museums, haunted locations, can be possessed, for lack of a better word. How do you and your group protect yourselves from not bringing someone unwanted home with you?
Uh,
I mean of the paranormal.
well, I can answer this. I know in my 13 years, as far as I know, I've never brought anything home with me. I don't think any of my teammates have, because I'm sure somebody would have mentioned that to one of us. I know people that claim that they've been to very active locations, and then the next day, like they had cabinets in their home open and things like that. They're credible people. I believe them. I can only speak for myself and my team. Like we've never had that type of experience after an investigation.
XO Nation, our guest this hour is Joe Rainwin with Daisies. Not yet, not yet. Joe Rainwin is our special guest, and he is with, paranormalnewengland.com. What's the best way for people to contact you if, in fact, they do want to have your services to investigate what they believe to be a haunted location, Joe?
They can go right to that website. They can go right to paranormalnewengland.com, and we have a team email address, and we also have a Facebook page that we monitor daily. So between the Facebook page and the website, folks can definitely get a hold of us.
All right, Joe, stand by. We've got to take another break here. And XO Nation, this is the XO. I'm Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you on your hometown radio here in St. Catharines, Classic 1220, www.classic1220.ca. And if you'd like to send me an email, it's very simple, xzone@classic1220.ca. Joe and I return after this break. Don't go away. XO Nation, Joe Rainwin is our special guest. ParanormalNewEngland.com is their website. And you're listening to The X-Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, www.classic1220.ca. Joe, I've spoken to a number of paranormal investigators over the years, and some of them report feeling sick in the midst of an investigation or shortly before the investigation has reached its end. Have you or any of your members ever had this experience?
We have, yeah. I've felt a little nauseous prior to investigating, and at certain points during an investigation. I'm I'm not exactly sure whether it was something just physically induced,
Mm-hmm.
or whether it was something of paranormal in nature. Um, to jokingly enough, typically we do go out to eat before we do a case. So, I'm sure some of that is probably 50-50,
Here's a question, and it's a direct question, Joe. Does evil exist?
I think it does. I think it does.
And
Yep.
during your paranormal investigations, have you ever seen any evidence that what you're dealing with is something evil, something demonic? And if so, how do you handle that?
I'm gonna go on record. I don't believe in demons, but I believe that there are evil spirits. I believe that if you're kind of not so great in
Mm-hmm.
life, then why would that change in death? Just to put it mildly. Um, I mean, like I said, the worst that's probably ever happened to myself or any of our teammates. A few of my teammates, I did say, did get scratched. I did get pushed. Um, Mainly, just I've been called a lot of derogatory terms via EVP.
Really?
Yes, yes.
Why do you think they'd use derogatory words or curse and cuss you or your team? What do they expect to accomplish with that?
I don't know if they just want to present themselves as like a badass, or something to that
Mm-hmm.
degree, or they want to portray themselves like, hey, like I'm evil, I'm a demon. My group, I can tell you right now, we go into any location, whether it's a public hunt or a private home case, with the utmost respect. We don't provoke in any way, shape, or form. We're just there to hopefully get answers for ourselves, answers for the clients, answers for the location. All I do is ask questions that I just hope I get, some type of informational response. And in the process of asking these questions, I've gotten some really, really nasty things said to me.
Why do you guys call it a ghost hunt? Because usually when you go on a hunt, you intend on capturing or killing something, and ghosts are already dead.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who coined the term hunt, Rob, to be honest with you. But yeah, you bring up a really good point. So yeah, and I think it's easier to just say we're going on a ghost hunt rather than we're going on a paranormal investigation. It's
Uh,
just ghost hunt is shorter, and it rolls off the tongue a little more smoothly.
okay. What's your take on this booming para-tourism industry that is cropping up all over the place?
Well, if the money is going back into the location, I'm 100% all for it. There are historic places that are in need of dire repair,
Mm-hmm.
and if the owners of said location are taking the funds from these ghost hunts and tours and things like that, and are putting them back into the location to keep the location open for future other paranormal investigators, I'm all for it. Um, some folks, I think it might be a little bit of a cash grab for them, because you go to the same place that, you know, it needed a roof 5 years ago, and you go out there 5 years later and it still needs a roof. You kind of have to scratch your head and question that.
I would imagine so. But if a place is repaired, isn't there the possibility that the repairs will actually affect the paranormal activity within it?
Yes, and to answer that question in another way, when we do get a potential residential case
Mm-hmm.
that comes in, like one of the very first questions we ask is, has there been a recent remodeling done to the property? And more than half the time, the answer is yes. So I think a remodel would definitely stir up the paranormal activity in a location.
But is it possible that it may also quiet or cancel the paranormal activity in that location? Since whatever may be causing the spirits or the entities to remain there, for example, I don't know, a clock or an old stool, whatever. If that is removed, or there's a wall that has to be removed, and that wall was the center or focal point of the paranormal activity, isn't it possible that by removing that or repairing it, it may in fact cancel the paranormal activity within that property?
Well, I would say anything's possible, and especially if more so taking something out of a
Yeah.
location. I mean, the spirit just could have been attached to, like you said, like a grandfather clock, say,
Mm-hmm.
and then that clock gets taken out of the location for whatever reason. And I think that has a lot to do with, like, when folks go to these antique places and they buy these antiques clearly came from some location. And now this clock is in somebody's home. So I guess that could take the spirit out of that original location, and now you have a person that is calling us because all of a sudden they're having paranormal experiences in their home and they don't know why. So I could see that point is very, very valid, that if an object or something is taken out of a location, that it could quiet or quell the location.
Does one's religious philosophy have an effect on the paranormal activity?
So I mean, I'm Roman Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get into any type of religion when we're questioning a potential home case whatsoever. I mean, sometimes it just happens to come out in the conversation,
Right. Yeah.
but we don't particularly base our findings on any type of religion.
Does holy water work?
I think holy water works if you want it to work.
Have you ever had the need to call in members of the clergy to clear or help you investigate a house that may show signs of demonic possession?
Well, I'm gonna go on a limb again, and this is just my personal belief that I do not believe there's anything demonic out there. But in order to make a homeowner feel more at ease,
Mm-hmm.
yes, we have involved local clergy to come out to the house and bless the house. I personally think it was more of a placebo
Right.
to help the homeowner than anything else.
Where do you see a paranormal investigating in 5 years from now?
Oh, never thought about that. I'll tell you, Rob, in my 13 years,
Mm-hmm.
not much has changed. The technology as far as recorders and cameras has obviously gotten better. I mean, when I started back 10 years ago, everything was on a digital video
Right.
tape, and now everything go right to an SD card. I would imagine that we'll probably see some more gadgets invented, and I just feel as though the quality of cameras in audio is going to be that much greater in 5 years, and for that matter, that much smaller, which helps us out because now, if you can limit your gear cases to smaller equipment, you're just better off in general.
What about these voice boxes that are being sold? Do they work?
Yeah. So, in my opinion, I would say that I think you're referring to a ghost box or a spirit box.
Right.
Yeah. So, I will say that when I initially started my journey in paranormal investigating, I did not believe in ghost boxes or spirit boxes. Uh, I have changed my stance on that after being out with different teams and seeing some of the results they have gotten with these particular devices. I feel as though there is definitely something to them. Um, and I'll also kind of base that on the fact that we've gotten direct responses via that particular that's called ITC when you use a ghost box or a spirit box. That's called instrumental transcommunication, by the way, for the audience. Um, and again, I'll go back to some derogatory statements. I have heard some very derogatory things via a ghost box, spirit box. And that's something that I know the FCC would never in a bazillion years allow to go on public airwaves.
That is so true. Neither would Classic 1220.
I was going to mention that.
Um, have you ever had an encounter that, or an investigation that involves children?
Yes. Yes, I have.
How
I
does that,
have.
how does the investigation of a child in the paranormal affect you and your team? And I've got about a minute before I have to go for my break.
Uh, it's very disheartening when you hear the voice of a child.
Yeah.
I'm a parent. I have two children. Most of the members on the team have kids. So it's disheartening when during an EVP session you hear a child calling for its mother and you hear babies crying.
Yeah, I imagine it would be because Laura and I have 6 children. We have 15 grandchildren and 2 great grandchildren. So that would be very, very taxing, I'm sure, on any parent. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. Joe, please stand by. And Exonation, our guest this hour is Joe RAINONE. His website is paranormalnewengland.com. They also have a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/paranormal New England. They have a YouTube channel. And all you need to do is go to YouTube and type in Paranormal New England, and their videos will all pop up all over the place. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And we're on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, at www.classic1220.ca. And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, on your hometown radio, 1220. And some great shows on 1220. Join Steph and Danny Z first thing in the morning on the morning show. All throughout the morning and parts of the day, my good friend Chuck LaFleur, who is the news director at Classic 1220, does the news. The drive home is Pete Dichter. And, of course, the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, Monday through Friday at 11 p.m. right here on Classic 1220, www.classic1220.ca. And you can always send me an email to xzone@classic1220.ca. Joe RAINONE is our special guest. And, Joe, the Paranormal New England group, what has been your your number one investigation that you and your team believe that this is the investigation of all investigations?
We did an investigation of Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, and the amount of activity in that location was, for lack of a better term, off the paranormal chart from the second we walked through those doors till the second we left. You want to talk about electronic voice phenomenon? It's very, you go into a location, and if you come out of that location with one really good, clear EVP, like you would consider that a very good night. Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, just about every single time we hit a record button on a recorder, we had an EVP.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, do all the teams that go there get EVPs, and are they always the same EVPs, or are they different EVPs?
So, interestingly enough, when we were at Trans-Allegheny, our guide for the night basically said that, the last night's group that came through here, it was very quiet here. They didn't get much of anything. And then, we show up there the following night, and like I said, the place was like off the hook, paranormally speaking. So that's a real, that's a real hit or miss type thing when you book a location. The interesting piece to this is we were in a certain room in Trans-Allegheny, and the tour guide was telling us a story how one of the patients killed another patient by hanging them and stabbing them, and the girl was like, yeah, and the last time I was here, I got this EVP saying I'm a monster. And we had our recorder running while she was telling us the story of the murder and of her EVP. And during our recording, we got the same exact EVP that she got. We got a voice saying, I'm a monster.
What about the other parts of the paranormal investigation where there is articles that move and people actually get the impression that they're being watched and that there's cold spots, hot spots? Do you guys also experience all those other signs and symptoms of a paranormal activity when you're out there?
Yeah, so it's rare to get something as far as like a poltergeist activity where something moves, but that has definitely happened to us. That happened to us in Gettysburg. We were investigating an old farmhouse that served as a Confederate hospital, and we actually had one of our glow sticks that was down on one of the tables in the basement actually kind of on command shoot off the table. Didn't roll off, didn't fall off. It was like it went 2 to 3 feet right across the room, and that was just something that probably about 10 to 15 minutes prior to that, I had just asked, hey, if there's any spirits down here, of any Civil War soldiers, can you knock that glow stick off the table? And it happened, and to our dismay, and it was one of those things. We just didn't have a camera on it. We didn't have a recorder running to document it. And I just looked at everybody and said, you know what? Even if we did have a camera on it, nobody was going to believe us. They're going to think somebody tugged that with a fishing line or something like that.
But why would they think that? Is there that much deception and deceit within the paranormal groups?
Yeah, there is. I think there's a lot of evidence fabrication going on. And I think the whole YouTube generation kind of nudge that along a little bit more, because nobody's going to want to watch a video unless something happens, and again, not everything happens, and we've been to locations, we've been to specific locations, like again, like the SK Pierce Mansion in Gardner, Mass. I've lost track at how many times I've investigated that particular location, and we'll go in there, we'll spend our 6 to 8 to 10 hours in there, and nothing could happen the whole night. And the very next trip in there, it's like a different house. So there's no, you just can't bank on paranormal activity happening, even in a location that has had it prior. So if you're a YouTube creator and you're banking on people watching your video, you know, I wouldn't be surprised that they're doing something as far as fabricating evidence.
Let's go back a couple of minutes because we were talking about this paranormal place that you went, and you got this EVP, the same EVP that another young lady got about.
Yes.
Okay, where the person said, "I am a monster."
Mm-hmm.
Does the paranormal activity have anything to do with the weather, the phase of the moon, the electromagnetic area where the paranormal location is, ley lines?
So at one point in time, we had a prior member who was an actual scientist.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a number cruncher. So when we got a call to do something, he documented everything you just mentioned and more: humidity, barometer, temperature, phase of the moon, you name it. The one correlation he could make was that ley lines definitely had something to do with it. I wish I could get into it further, Rob, but I'm just not qualified.
Okay. Why do people seek the paranormal? Why do people look for spirits? Why do people look for ghosts? All these years, and like you yourself said, nothing's changed. So why continue?
Yeah, you have to have a passion for it, because again, more often than not, nothing happens, truth be told. And again, you go to a spot, and if you come out of there with one EVP, it was a good night. But it's just like I kind of simulate it to like my golf game. I'm a terrible golfer, and I'll lose balls,
Mm-hmm.
I'll shank, and I'll hook, but I'll remember that drive that I was dead center in the fairway. Like, I'll come home talking about that, so I that's what keeps me going, personally. I think a lot of people just have questions because they've had their own paranormal experiences, and they want to know why that happened or how that happened, and is that going to happen again? And I think that fuels it for certain people as well.
Let's say that tomorrow night there's a news conference and the members of the scientific community are able to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that is the person, the group, who are actually creating the paranormal event, and that there is nothing paranormal about it. What do you think would happen to the paranormal groups?
I honestly don't think anything would change. I really don't. I think groups would still go out and do it. I mean, so you're basically saying that it's related to the personalities in the groups that's causing the phenomenon?
Well, I'm just saying that this would be something that the scientific community would come up with and say, listen, there is no such thing as the paranormal. Here's our proof. Boom.
It's just like trying to convince a skeptic, I think. I believe in it now. I've been doing it long enough. I know the paranormal is real. I know it's not what it's portrayed on television at this point in time. I don't think it would change anything for me because, I mean, science has been proven wrong in the past.
So what was it that turned you from a non-believer into the hardcore believer that you are today?
It's the phenomenon of electronic voice phenomenon. And when I went out, when I started doing this, I probably went a solid 6 months without ever capturing an EVP. And I was at the point where, like, I don't think that the phenomenon is true. I think it's fake. I think it's just not possible. How come I haven't gotten anything? And then it happened. I got my very first EVP. It was a home case in Weymouth, Mass. We were out in the woods backyard of this home where the lady was like, I'm hearing kids laughing and giggling and running through my house. I don't have kids. I caught my very first EVP of a child basically calling my name. So
Now,
that
yeah.
sold it for me right there.
Listen, Joe, it's the time where we must say so long for tonight, but do me a favor. Let our listeners know how they can contact you and give your website and your Facebook page out.
Yeah, so if anybody wants to get a hold of us, we're www.paranormalnewengland.com. All the links to any of our social media is out there. We do have a Facebook page. We do have a YouTube channel. And I would say go to the website page and get our links from there.
Joe, thanks very much for joining us, and I look forward to the next time you and I meet right here back in the X Zone on Classic 1220.
Thank you for having me, Rob.
You have a nice night, sir.
You too, sir.
All right, X Zone Nation, tell me, are you a skeptic or a believer? Send me your emails, xzone@xzone. No, that's the old one. I'm sorry. Scratch, erase. Send me your email, xzone@classic1220.ca. That's xzone@classic1220.ca. I'll be back tomorrow night at 11 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And tomorrow night I'll take some cough medicine. How's that, Craig? All right. To my senior producer, my good friend Craig West, thanks, Craig, for all your hard work. And to each and every one of you tonight, the listening audience of Classic 1220, have a great time. Enjoy your life. Share with one another. Take care of one another. And always remember, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart to the light. I'm Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone, and you're listening to us on your hometown radio, Classic 1220. www.classic1220.ca.